Hey, welcome to Forest County, Pennsylvania and the Forest County Outback channel, where we combine history with the outdoors, and history nerds make videos for other history nerds. Today we are going to look at railroads, sawmills, oil leases, and rocks. Hey everybody, on this rather gloomy New Year's Day, we're standing on the Knox Cane Rail Trail. Now, before it was a rail trail, it was the Knox Cane Tourist Railroad. Before that, it was the northern sub of the B&O. And before that, it was the Pittsburgh and Western Railroad grade. Now, when you talk about the lumbering era of Forest County, the two firms that come to mind for most people immediately are Wheeler and Duesenberry and the T.D. Collins operations. And they were the big dogs. They were the prominent, dominant operators in Forest County. But that was because they were located on the western part of the county and they had access to the Allegheny River, which was how lumber and timber were initially transported down to the Pittsburgh and Cincinnati markets. On the Marionville side of the county, that was a different story. This area is what's known as the Big Level. It's a high plateau, and there are no large streams here to float anything out. So while it was covered very thickly with pine and hemlock, and with hemlock, the hemlock bark, which the tanneries really wanted, it was inaccessible. There was no practical way to get the products out of here until the railroads came. And in 1882, the Pittsburgh and Western built through Marionville and through across the level and up to Kane, and the Tionesta Valley at the same year came down from Sheffield and over part of the level. And I talked about that in episode 24, Sheffield Junction and the Big Phil. You might want to check that one out. So as this opened up, the lumbermen came in and they built mills right along the railroad, cut their timber, but eventually they had to keep going further and further out, move their mills out further, and they built railroad spurs to connect their timber and their mills with the main line. And we're going to look at one of those operations. They were generally small, short-lived, and we're going to look at one of those operations, the Shipe and Deal Mill on Salmon Creek. There's an oil lease adjacent to that. We're going to check that out, and some rocks. So this is Forest County Outback 37. Awesome rocks and other stuff. Before we get into today's video, there's a couple. I want to address the Facebook group. We have a Facebook group. It's called Forest County Outback, and it's on Facebook. If you haven't joined, I invite you to join. But I also ask you, when you ask to join, there are a couple membership questions. Please answer them. If you don't answer them, I will decline your request to join, because I want to know that you have read and understand the rules and understand what this group is about. I've had to delete some posts recently. I encourage people to post as long as it's on subject, as long as it's about the history of Forest County. Okay. Things like holiday greetings, you know, that's fine. We're cool with that. That's great. I will say though that after a couple weeks, I will delete those, because they're what's the word here? They're dated, you know. But I've had some other posts. No politics. I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. No politics whatsoever. That will get you banned. It is also not a place to promote your business or to do advertisements like commercial. This is not a commercial site, and I sadly had to delete another post that was very intriguing and entertaining and interesting, but it's not this is not a place if you're looking for hookups. It's not a dating site. Sorry about that, and to the person, yeah, I hope you find that special someone, but yeah, we really can't help you with that. And so let's get on to today's video. This is Little Salmon Creek here, and right up here, not too far, is the site of the Shippendale sawmill. And you can, well, you can't see it there, but that is the railroad spur that went to the mill. There you can see the grade going into the mill. And up ahead is the boiler house. One of the things that always struck me about this boiler house is, for one thing, it's one of the most complete ruins, but it has absolutely beautiful stonework. And apparently the mill sat over in this area. It's hard to believe that a sawmill and planing mill could have been crammed into this little area over here, but it must have extended quite a ways down. But you can see the footprints of some of the buildings here. That nice dusting of snow. And then the dam was up here, and there was a cut here. They must have been where they must be where they pulled logs into the mill. As I said, the stonework on this thing is really amazing. This is, I said before, this is somebody who took pride in their work. The fact that so much of it is still standing when you've got all these trees growing in it and the roots separating things says a lot about the craftsmanship that went into building this structure. Now this operation is, as most of the mills along those two railroads, was a fairly small setup. And most of them lasted less than 10 years. They were cutting small acreages. And this one, well, I'll give you the history on it here in a little bit. But I don't think it was here very long. And one thing I'm kind of curious about, and I've seen these around other boiler houses, there's a trench here and a trench over there. And I've seen those in other structures like this, and I'm not sure what they're for. There's the boiler house over there. This was the dam. not much of it left. And this is the pond back here. It was a fairly good-sized pond. Now, they did not have their own locomotive. They didn't do any logging railroads here. They just Levi Clough ran a spur off of his railroad down in here to haul their lumber and shingles out. They made a lot of shingles here. In fact, his operation first started as a shingle mill, which was way up at the other end of the log pond. And I think there's some remains of that. We're going to go look at that. But they had a tram road that came down over in that direction that they brought logs on, and then they would take the cars back by mule and return loaded with gravity. And then on this bank over here, during the winter, they would skid logs down on bobsleds to the top of that bank and roll them in here. So they said by the end of winter, the logs were just stacked way high in here. Another view of the dam, one end of the dam. I'm assuming they would have had a wooden bracket across the stream here. Okay, another view of the boiler house. Railroad grade here in the foreground, going up next to it, and then the mill was over in this area. Unfortunately, no photos of it. Not that I have found, anyhow. So we're going to head upstream and we're going to look at the site of the shingle mill, and I'll fill you in on the history of this operation. Now we're at what would have been the upper end of the log pond, and there is this full stone structure here. We don't know, made of cut stone. We don't know if that was part of the shingle mill or not, but the shingle mill would have been up in this area here. Now let me give you the rundown on the history here. We're not sure when it started. The operation started as a shingle mill run by Mensch and, or not Shipe and Mensch, and they were businessmen from Marionville. Eventually, Mensch sold his interest to O.J. Deal, who was he had been living in New Jersey, and he got typhoid fever, and when he recovered, his doctors advised him to get out of New Jersey, which is good advice under any circumstance, and to go to a healthier climate. So he came to Marionville. He bought Mensch's interest in this, and that was around 1894-95. They built a sawmill, and that was what we saw down there. Now, how long this ran, don't know. Probably not very long. It was probably done by 1900. Now there's a oil lease on up the creek here. We're going to go take a look at that. So we've got a remains of a bridge here, just well casing. That's not well casing. It's well, it's some kind of pipe, drill, some kind of pipe. And then the rest of the lease is up that way. When I first found this years and years ago, this was all open. You could see all right up the hill. But things change. A lot of stuff laying around here. You get the impression that this was abandoned very suddenly. Whatever it was made in Titusville. It's remains of a building up there. A lot of debris laying around here. This is our building. It was years ago. It was intact when I first saw it. Had no trees on top of it, but it's central power. Hey, there's your motor mount. Motor's gone. It'd been a natural gas engine, and it's weird. They always took the motors, but they left the eccentrics. They couldn't get in to see the eccentric, but this jack is interesting. I'd like to know what time frame this was. It's C.W. Norris, made in Tyona, PA. So it's local. But see, they were pulling this well, and they stopped. All right, well, we're getting low on battery. If we want to get a picture of the rocks, we need to get going down, heading down here. Okay, we're on our way back down the creek here, and got this little thing I said might be part of the shingle mill. I didn't notice that earlier. Duh. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 like beam slots here where there were timbers in the ground, and they extend out here, all the way out here. And you can see the outline of the structure. So this may well have been the shingle mill. This is that rise, or that bank where they used to unload the logs from the sleds in the wintertime, and the mill was, oh, you can't see it for the trees, but it's down that way. You can just see the dam. And then the Deal's house was up in this area somewhere. I looked around, I didn't see any sign of it. Did I not say awesome rocks? I had planned to do more video of the rocks, but I ran out of battery. That's what happens when your cameraman, who usually takes care of that stuff, is unavailable. I do have some outtakes at the end. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comment. And remember, you can follow us on our Facebook page at Forest County Outback. And yeah, thanks for watching, and catch you on the next one. And I can't promise I'll be better organized, but we'll try. Standing on the cane, not but you want to do the rest of that snow. Forget it. And okay. Cut. Hey, before we get into